What's up, everybody? What an awesome time to be a collector, huh, guys? It's unbelievable what is happening right now. By the way, I'm wearing a shirt. I don't know if you guys can see that. Quarantine 2020. My wife, she needed a hobby, so she got into something called cricket. If you guys want to give your your significant other something to do, she loves it, and she made me a shirt that says "Quarantined" with a little Yankee logo on it. So, but anyway, it's been an unbelievable. I've been talking about this resurgence since I got on YouTube like 6 years ago, back in 2014. And I had no idea that the resurgence was going to happen during a pandemic, which is exactly what happened. I saw like cards were sort of on the precipice of a boom, right, like, early January, February, when Gary Vee and all those guys started pumping cards, and I was just like, oh man, here it comes. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, ugh. Now cards are going to drop and people are going to want to spend their money on more important things, maybe like toilet paper and stuff like that. But what I didn't realize is that because people have nothing else to do, I look at my calendar, March, April, May, everything is canceled. It's just canceled. There's nothing for me to do, even though I've been fortunate enough to, have a job where I'm very busy. I have nothing to do. Like I get done with work and I sit and, look at eBay listings all night, or, review my collection at, for the 5,000th time. So there hasn't been a lot to do, and it makes sense. There's a lot of new collectors in the hobby, as you guys could probably imagine. There are people that, don't have fantasy sports. Like I'm a big fantasy sports guy. If you don't have gambling, I know that some sports are coming back. I think the UFC is actually going on tonight. So some of that's coming back, but I think people they need an outlet. They need something to do. So they're going into sports collections. And what I've noticed is that they're a big thing is I've noticed is that they're really, they seem to be investors rather than collectors, which is why we're seeing a lot of this sort of the modern cards really, really go up in value. And you can tell that people are trying to flip cards, and and that's why cards are going like tripling in value overnight practically. Bowman First comes out, right? So it comes out on Topps' website for $350. The site crashes, and within days, this Bowman First product is going for $700. And what annoyed me, to be honest with you, is that people were they were just regular collectors going on Topps.com, just trying to grab a couple of packs. They're stuck inside their house all day, and they can't get it. The site keeps crashing, and I read people's comments about this. I didn't go through it. I didn't even know that the product was even available. And then I don't know how this happens, but there are certain group breakers that just have cases and cases and cases of this stuff. And I don't get how a regular just Joe Schmo collector can't get a couple of packs, and these case breakers have just cases of them. It's just I don't the hobby is kind of a mess right now. Lots of new guys, and then for the Jason Dominguez. So Jason Dominguez is the key guy from this Bowman First product, and he's a Yankee. He's 17 years old. He has a world of potential, and he's the key card for this. And I see almost immediately his paper Bowman. We're talking about a paper Bowman First card. It was going ungraded $300 on eBay, just the base, not even a parallel. And so you got to be really careful, because a lot of these new collectors, they don't know what they're doing, and they're just throwing money And then as like, things died down a little bit, it, regressed to, I think now it's at $150, which is still way too high for a Bowman paper product. Hey, listen, you want to take the risk on Jason Dominguez, or if you think that this is a one-of-a-kind product, I still think you're overpaying at $150 for a Bowman paper Jason Dominguez. And then, people like I saw, so everyone got crazy about the Jordan documentary. And some people have noticed that some of his cards are starting to soften a little bit. But then there was an announcement that the McGwire and Sosa are going to have a documentary about the home run chase. So now everyone's chasing after McGwire cards in a PSA 9, and the McGwire card is now I think at like $150. I mean, this is like a $30 card a couple of weeks ago, and now it's $150. Sammy Sosa in a PSA 10 is now going for like $150, like the Leaf. Just be very careful and try not to get caught up in, the hysteria. Just try to make smart purchases. I think what's going to happen with this is because there's a lot of new collectors, you're going to see a lot of these modern cards kind of go crazy. Just be very careful. Don't get caught up in the hype. I also think that 80s and early 90s cards are going to go up in value, just as I have been predicting. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've been talking about this for a very long time. I warned you guys that this was going to happen. 80s cards are just skyrocketing in value, especially, and it started with Griffey, because everyone, if you come back into the hobby and you're, late 30s, early 40s, the first thing you think of is, oh, that 89 Upper Deck card. That's the first card I remember. What's the second card I remember? Oh, the Don Mattingly 84 Don Russ card. That was a card that I always wanted. So those, and it just kind of, it starts with those, and then it's going to slowly trickle down to the other big cards from the 80s and early 90s. And that's why I'm really bullish on the 93 SP Jeter card. I've watched as the Tom Brady, that's another crazy. I brought the Brady card for $1,800, the Tom Brady in a PSA 10, the Chrome. $1,800. We're talking a month later, it's going for $4,500. It's just nuts. What's going on right now is nuts. But I think as collectors, I think you start off as an investor because you need an outlet. But I think a lot of these investors will turn into collectors. Not all of them, but some of them will turn into collectors. And they'll start to want more of the blue chip stuff. So that's why I think right now the cards that are the biggest bargain are the vintage stuff. The vintage stuff, which hasn't really taken off much. I mean, it's taken off a little bit. But I really like some of the blue chip vintage stuff. I'm not going to name any specific ones because I have my eyes on a couple of them, and I feel like if I say something on my channel now, it's going to move the market. But maybe I'm overestimating my channel's importance. But I just, I think it's a lot to take in right now. All right, guys. So back in July, about 7 months ago, it was right before the National. I decided to do a 15 cards for $50. And with the way the market's been going, I mean, you could throw a dart. You could have a monkey throw a dart and make a profit on some of the cards that are out there. But I thought it would be cool to look at some of the cards that I recommended back in July. So about 9 months ago, right before the National in Chicago. Just see how I did. So I did 15 cards that you can get for $50. The only card that really hasn't made a profit would be this, the 89 Classic Griffey, which is kind of surprising. Was going for $50 back then. It's still going for around 50. But every card besides that one have gone up and gone up pretty significantly. So, and I'm going from lowest to highest. So the Dwight Gooden was going for about $58. It is now going for $80. which may not sound like a lot, like a $22 profit, but that's a 37% increase in 9 months, which is, you know, if you look at if you compare that to the stock market, you would have done very, very well. And then next up, I also recommended the Darryl Strawberry, a 84 Fleer in a PSA 10, which has gone from a $50 card to now selling around $80. Another card that, you know, if this had come back as a PSA 10, would have been a hell of an investment, but unfortunately it came back as an 8.5. But even like this card, I think I bought this raw for $45. It's now going for about $80, $60 raw. So it's about $24 increase from back in July of last year. And then also the 89 score traded Griffey in a PSA 10 has gone from $45 in July to $80 now. So that's a $35 increase. That's a 77% increase. Then let's see. Oh, next card up, Aaron Judge. Even this card, you know, Aaron Judge with all of his issues that he's had, was a $30 card. And this particular card is now going for around $55. So again, a nice increase. Let's see, the Derek Jeter, this card in a PSA 9. This was before he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. At the time, it was going for $35, is now going for $65. This 83 Donruss Wade Boggs. This is where it starts to get a little crazy. This card, I recommended it for $50. It's now going for $100, so it's doubled. This card's value has doubled in a 9-month period. So that, you know, 100% increase. Then you have the Griffey, and to no surprise, this card's up. This is the 89 Topps traded, and this has gone from, let's see, a $53 card when I was recommending it to now selling pretty regularly for about $130 in a PSA 10. That's a $77 increase or 145% increase. Another card that's gone crazy, a card that I recommended in the video, this is the Pedro Martinez. It was going for like $50 on the nose back in July, is now going for about $130 again, pretty regularly. So that's about an $80 increase. How about this? The Bo Jackson, Donruss rookies. This was a $50 card, now going for $130. The Randy Johnson, this is the 89 Upper Deck in a PSA 10, was going for about $45, is now going for $130. So that's an $85 increase. The 87 Donruss Bo Jackson was going for $48 and is now going for $140. And then the two biggest increases were these two cards. So the Bellinger going from a $40 card to a $250 card, and the Michael Jordan card going from a $50 card to a $300 card. So pretty insane. If you would have bought all 15 cards at you know, when at the time that I recommended it, would have cost you around $700. You can now, according to eBay listings, sold listings at least, sell those cards for $1,800. That's a $1,100 increase in 9 months. So these are the kinds of things that are going on with the market. Can it sustain itself? It definitely cannot continue to go up like it has. Like, you're not going to see these types of increases. This is unheard of. Do I think that if you buy the right cards, like the ones that I'm just showing you now, I think are sort of blue chip cards that are going to continue to go up in value. There's obviously much more risky cards out there. Like, you know, this is a perfect example of a card that, you know, or even this, the Bo Jackson. I mean, these are two cards that are just going to, over time, just going to continue to increase in value, especially as, like, you know, people, you know, get back into the hobby and really want those 80s and 90s cards. So anyway, those are my thoughts on today's market. It has just been absolutely insane. Hopefully you guys are having some fun with it. Don't get carried away. Make sure you're making good buys, and obviously make sure you're having fun, because that's what it's all about. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you later.